Hey everybody, what is going on? I hope we're well. I hope we're super duper today. Today, I've got a chap who used to be an ex-teacher, was so empowered to join the forces, but unfortunately got diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and he felt low, he felt down, he was just like at wit's end because that's all he wanted to do. Somebody recommended become a teacher, so he started teaching history, and even still, he found it quite tough to break out of that. That emotional state. So today we have got Sam Moinet. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to speak to him. He is the creator of the Student Breakthrough. I said that right. Here he is. Himself. Oh, Sam.
Good morning. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good, dude. If you notice that I'm wearing this color top to represent your color brand, I hope you appreciate that.
Mate, I really appreciate that. You got to be on brand, right? You got to be on brand.
Luckily, right there.
We've got this amazing yellow wall, which was actually not even painted on purpose, but I just love it.
I'll cover the Nike tick, dude, so it's more focused to you. There you go.
Thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. So great.
I'm enjoying this, man.
Yeah. So VE Day, my brothers have both been doing tashes, and on VE Day, I was like, I'm going to join them. So I felt a bit self-conscious, but it's been, I guess, in terms of like comfort zone, if we're trying to link it to personal development, I guess it's quite nice to do something different and be a bit uncomfortable. Because on Zoom, it's been a bit like, do I take myself seriously? You know, like, what do you think? But anyway, it's all good.
Well, we've got some epic people here, dude, that will completely not take it seriously. This is Lily, just here. She says hi on her mum's account. This is Megan. Kieran here. We've got Ebony. Kieran says morning again. And this should be Ewan, I believe. Hopefully it is. And I'm going to leave Ewan by saying cool. So I'm going to get stuff now. So, dude, yeah, this is really awesome. It's so weird. We met virtually, obviously, through people in Australia, but you only live up the road.
I know. How weird is this? So, yeah, Dale's only an hour away from me, a bit up north. But it took someone in Perth 21,000 miles away, or however far away it is, to actually connect us. And it's been so great to actually connect with you and other people at this time, because we're always so busy, right? I hate that word. And there's always stuff going on. But now the world's a bit quieter. Like, we've actually able to connect, and it's been amazing, mate. So thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, no, I really appreciate it. Thank you for giving us some of your time, because I know how active you are. You are a very active guy because of what you do, which is awesome. Now, I love the fact you said that this is for VE Day. Now, that's obviously something with the forces is important to you. I've kind of like just got a canvas and just drew on with pencil your story, but I want you to fill it with beautiful watercolor. So who are you, dude? And let's go for it.
Yeah, great stuff. So yeah, up front, my name's Sam Moinet. I'm founder of Student Breakthrough. I'm a speaker, a teacher, and a student coach. So very, very similar to Dale. Obviously slightly different messaging and what our focus is, but if we strip it all away, we want to help young people be the best they can be. And that's really my ambition. And if you want to go all the way back, when I was at school, when I didn't have this, and I was a bit younger, I was the kid at school that just wasn't very confident. I was the kind of the quieter kid who didn't really like speaking out much, right, and getting involved. And it led me to do something that people were quite shocked at the time, and that was to go and join the British Army. And that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a soldier. So if you're watching this and you've got a dream, like my dream from the age of 10 years old all the way to I was 21 was I want to join the British Army. And I got a big history in my family of being in the military. If you're watching this and you're a guy, you might look up to your parent, especially your dad, about what they do. And for me, my dad was a Royal Marine. He fought in the Falklands War, which is a big war in the 80s. And I wanted to live up to him, right? I wanted to live up to him. And that's why I did what I wanted to do. Andy, how are you? I'm very well, thank you. Great to see you. I'm not sure that's Andy or a son, but whatever. And yeah, I wanted to be a soldier so bad. And I got in 2012, I got accepted into the Royal Anglian Regiment. I was 21 years old. I ran up to my dad and I'm like, Dad, like I've got into the British Army. And that little boy really felt like he'd gained his confidence. So that was my big starting point, was to be a soldier. But as always, Dale, and if you're watching this as well, like life has a way of throwing you a curveball.
Mm-hmm.
And with every positive, there's usually negative and vice versa. and I got into the British Army. I'd worked really hard, but 2 weeks later, I got a letter through the post. And I remember the day so well, because it's really gloomy outside. And this letter come through the letterbox. It was the same like official British Army letter. So it had a red waxy stamp with the Queen's logo and all this stuff on it. But I wasn't expecting this letter. And I knelt down and I picked up the letter and I read the first line and my whole world just like stopped. And it said, Sam, unfortunately, you have been diagnosed with Crohn's disease and you won't be considered for the British Army. So if you don't, guys, if you don't know what Crohn's disease is, basically just means I'm not fit and healthy enough to be a soldier. And yeah, my whole world stopped in that instant. I got a coffee cup smashed against the wall. I cried and cried and cried because everything I was brought up with, everything I wanted to achieve from 10 years old was gone. Bang. And if you're watching this and if you've experienced some challenges, if you're going through a hard time, you will get over it. And as you can see here, things had improved. But at the time, it can be really hurtful and really upsetting. And it's okay to feel that way. But also learn that better things are going to come with this. And you can always adapt. And I say this word all the time. You're always self-correcting. So that was the first real time I experienced failure, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Become an architect or open an animal shelter or both. And I love that dream. Like have that dream, have that purpose that drives you every single day. But also, if this is Hannah or a parent account, just be mindful that if life does throw you a curveball, and let's say the animal shelter is some really hard work and you face lots of, I don't know, setbacks with it, or you fail that architect exam, like don't let that stop you. But have the purpose and also realize that you're always going to be fine. You're always going to adapt. You're always going to adapt to life. Now, if I learned that at 21, my life would have been really easy, but I didn't. Do you want to keep going?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I just wanted to reiterate that, dude, because it's so important. When we're young, we have a dream, like a fantasy. The dream should just be turned into a goal with a deadline. And you were so close to that, and it's like your blueprint. And when your reality right now didn't match up with your blueprint, that's like disaster, stress, anger, depression, whatever label you want to put on it. And it obviously really affected you because you were so passionate about it, but you managed to twist that around and turn it around, which is super, which is amazing. How did you do that? How did you turn that negative into a positive? The vice versa complex.
Now, for the record, I didn't for years. For 2 years, okay. I felt like a victim. I'd like to say I didn't get in, and I was like, yeah, it's fine, no worries. Like I was miserable for 2 years. I was super anxious. Yeah, I love that, Megan. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, 100%. And we do learn and grow and become the best version of ourselves. But at the time, I felt like a victim. Why have I got Crohn's? Why can't I do what I want to do? Why can't I live my dream? All this, this like noise, the story that we tell ourselves in our heads. So guys, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So my mum was a primary school teacher back in the day. So I was like, I'm going to give teaching a go. And I really didn't enjoy teaching. I became a teacher. I really didn't like it. And I'll tell you the reason I didn't like it. It wasn't for the subjects. It wasn't for the students. It wasn't for education itself. It's because me felt like a victim. And I hadn't dealt with all the emotion around what happened with the Crohn's disease. So it took me a while. It took me 2 years. And on the 23rd of April, 2015, so give or take 5 years ago to the day, some of you might be getting coached by Dale right now, and I'm a student coach as well. And on the 23rd of April, I had my first coaching session. And how old was I? I think I was 22, 23. And for the first time in my life, and hopefully you guys get this with Dale, like I learned to actually express myself and not hold in my emotions, right? What was really going on for me and getting that out. So that was like unbelievable. The second thing I learned was the failure that I faced was actually a blessing. It was the first time I'd actually thought like, well, this is actually kind of meant for me. This has sent me on a different path, a different way of life. And that was great awareness to have from that age. Like I remember it so well. And the last thing I learned was that this kind of coaching support, a bit like Dale's done, needs to help more students. Like imagine if I learned that lesson at the age of 14, right? That when we experience failure, that it's okay and it's for us and it's actually a blessing. And it sounds cliche, but it transformed my life, that conversation. And I remember walking around a park in Milton Keynes, and for the first time, the park was vibrant. It was technicolored. It was like someone had lifted off the filter, and I was seeing like everything for the first time. So yeah, coaching. If you're getting coached by Dale, I applaud you so much, because, and you're in his community, like, amazing, because it's going to help you become the best version of yourself. And I wish I had this, and I wish I had what Dale had when I was younger. You know, it's so important.
Yeah, and dude, it's you really hit on every single nerve inside of me, positive nerve. The reason why I wrote a book was because I wanted to write it to my 11-year-old self, because I didn't have that when I was younger. I wanted, don't get me wrong, I love mum and dad. I love them to the ends of this world. I didn't have that figure like yourself, like me. And I often look back and think, would the 11-year-old self see me as a role model? And I try and live up to that every single day, as much as I possibly can. And on the other side of the coin, would my 10-year-old in the future self thank me for being for behaving like I'm behaving right now? Now I am so stoked, which is an Australian expression, but it's because I've been hanging out with some of the Aussies recently. I'm so stoked that you'll be able to attend the Young Esteem Summit and the Imperfect Parenting Summit on Sunday, this Sunday coming. So I'm not going to make it all about me today. I was going to ask some kids if they wanted to come on board onto this live and ask you some questions. I know Kieran does, but at the moment we've got Ewan. So Ewan, my good sir, are you ready to come on? Give me a nod. Of course he is. Look at him. Ewan is in mid. Hey mate.
Hey, Ewan. Great to see you.
Have you got a for Sam, mate?
Yeah.
Hi.
What did people think of you when you were in the army?
Oh,
great question. Well, I'm going to be honest. I didn't ever like fully make it. I was so close. So I got accepted and I did the first few rounds, but I failed the medical exam because of my Crohn's disease. So I couldn't achieve my dream. But people were really shocked by my decision to join the army because it wasn't necessarily my decision. I was looking up to my father, right, my dad, and seeing what he did, and I wanted him to sort of give me praise and he never told me to join the army, but I felt like I had to. So people were really shocked. And I think it's really important, Ewan, to realize that you've got to do stuff for you and what makes you happy. Now the army was fulfilling my dad's needs, but it was also fulfilling mine. But the army is amazing. Like, it's so great, and you can see the world, go on loads of adventures. There's obviously danger there as well. And I would have made a good soldier. I know that. But at the same time, if you do face failure, if you can't do what you want to do, like, look what I've created now. And who would have thought that, you know? So, soldiering is amazing. The army gives you great experience, but also life can give you great experiences as well, my friend.
Yeah.
Legend of a question. Nice
Great question.
I literally just thought of another question.
Oh, okay. Okay, bro.
If you went up to your 5-year-old self and told him that you wanted that you might want to that you joined the army, how do you think he would react?
My 5-year-old self, yeah?
Yeah.
I think he would be really proud, because there is something about joining the army that is, for a guy, it's quite like manly, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's quite like, I'm going to go fight and be a soldier. So I think for my 5-year-old self, he'd be really excited and really happy. So yeah, I think actually looking back on that, how would my 5-year-old self look at me now? I think he'd be really proud of me. And the reason for that is that I get to help loads more students and loads more people across the world, not just being a soldier and holding a gun, but actually helping more people. So yeah, I think he'd be proud of me. I'd like to think so. But great question. I love that one. Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome. Nice one, Ewan. Thank you for that. And I think Sam was lying, Ewan, don't you? He wouldn't make a good shoulder. He would make a great shoulder, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
I like to think so.
Yeah. Ewan, would you like to stay on board? And I'm going to get Zach on now. Okay. Yeah. Wicked. Zach,
cool.
go for it, bro.
Hey, Zach.
Have you frozen? You cold? Let me unmute you. There you go. Go for it. Can you unmute yourself?
There we go. Question. I was just joining.
Oh, okay, hang out with us. That's cool. Hang out. Let's get Alex on as well, and let's get Ebony on too. And see, look, let's get everybody on. Hey guys, what's going on?
Everyone's on. Good morning.
Right then. So, Alex, there you go. Oh, by the way, guest now. Right then, so
Frequency.
by the way, guys, Ebony's mic is a bit behind. So
Yeah, that noise is painful.
Creating frequency.
what we'll do is, guys, we'll keep Ebony on the screen, but we will get, hopefully, Ebony, if you want to write down your comments, please do so. And I'm going to ping over some comments to Sam as well, because we are going to be finishing on the half an hour. So, Sam, love the fact that you have been so open and honest, and I think that's a really, really cool skill to have. Like you said, to emotionally release. If you could, what do you think would be the effects compared to somebody who didn't let's pretend you didn't speak to that person when you were 22 and you didn't really emotionally release compared to what you do now. We know what you've got now. You've got a thriving company. You're helping so many people around the world, and which is amazing. But what happens if you didn't emotionally release?
I think I would have felt really sad for many years still. And when we have failure, like when we have I'm not sure if you guys have faced this, like a sporting failure or a school failure, something where you haven't maybe done your best or you haven't achieved something. When we bottle that up and when we don't talk about it, what happens is it creates more noise and we get more panicked and more worried and more scared. So when we're actually able to speak, and this is why I love what you guys are all doing here. You're so brave, by the way, for like doing what you do, and really courageous. Because when you actually talk, it releases so much pressure and so much tension and so much stress. So if I hadn't have spoken to that guy, I think I'd still be like almost like dark clouds over my head, you know. And we all want
That's bad. That's bad.
And we get sunshine from talking. We get sunshine from like doing stuff like this and being in a community. So yeah, I think it's so important to talk, 100%. Especially if you're a guy, if you're a boy watching this. Don't feel like you need to man up and pull your socks up and all this. Like, be okay with your emotions and sharing how you feel.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. I think one person, well, every single person here is completely sharing their emotions, otherwise they wouldn't be here. But we've got Kieran now. Kieran, do you have a question for Sam? Give me a nod, or can you hear me, Kieran? Kieran, do you have a question for Sam, mate?
I can't hear you, Dale.
Do you have a question? That was horrific sign language.
I don't think I do have a question.
Okay, you don't think you do have a question? That's cool. You can hang out with us though. We'll just say, and I'll ping Sam another question. Cool. So, dude, exactly. So it is really, really important to emotionally release. And people think actually that, you know, if I don't. People think, oh, you know what? I'm not going to cry because I'm brave, Sam. I'm brave. I'm not going to cry. Well, actually, the bravest thing you can do is cry and is to release, right?
Yeah.
So,
totally. I think we grow up as boys that it's a sign of weakness, right? It's a sign of weakness to cry. It's a sign of weakness to say that we're scared. It's a sign of weakness to say, I'm really worried. But it's actually a sign of strength.
Yeah.
It's a sign of strength, and it's so important, guys, to share, to open up, especially when you're a bit caught up in your head and you're thinking. Because when we do that, it's a bit like, you know, if you shake a Coke bottle, if you keep shaking a Coke bottle with the lid on, one day the lid is going to go boom and fly over. If you've seen like someone putting a Mento in a Coke bottle, like it goes everywhere. But when we actually talk, it's a bit like unscrewing the lid and we release some of the pressure. And when we release some of the pressure, we become happier and more positive.
Yeah,
So 100%. Talk, release the pressure.
Awesome. And what kind of, so in times now, what sort of advice might you give to students, say students, kids? What sort of advice would you give them to help them release? Would they need to have a safe adult, a safe parent? What do you think?
I think as long as you are, if you can talk to someone, whether it's a brother, a sister, a parent, that's really, really great. But sometimes we can't talk, and it's about expressing our emotions, right, in a different way.
Yeah.
So a great way of doing that is just to write down a couple of things on a piece of paper. So if you're feeling a little bit low and a little bit kind of caught up in your head, just writing down some things, just one thing you've achieved that day, or how you've helped someone, or one thing you're proud of right now. And by writing down our emotions, it's not talking, but you've got to think up here and put an answer down on paper. So it's not maybe the same as talking, but it's still a way to express yourself. And also just have the realization. Yes, love that. Here we are live as well. Have the realization, like the weather, love it. Just like the weather is always changing. It's really sunny, kind of sunny and cloudy today. That the bad times when you're upset, just like the weather, is always going to pass. It's always going to change. And there's always going to be sunshine right around the corner. Okay, so talk, share. If you can't do that, write down a couple of things, especially what makes you amazing and something you achieved that day. Okay, make yourself feel better. And we can do that by reflecting and looking back on our day.
Dude, that's really cool, because a lot of the times we're told to release our negative emotions. And I say negative, that's just a label. You know what? There's no such thing, I don't think, as a negative emotion, because being angry is important. Being upset is important. You need to release it. But we've been told to share the undesirable emotions, let's say, as opposed to the positive ones. And what you've said just there is actually, no, release what you're proud of as well. You know, release what you're grateful for. You know, how have you been happy today? How have you been proud of yourself today? I think that's really awesome, because that may open the door to releasing positively the undesirable emotions too. So I like that, man.
Yeah, I actually did that. Like, I didn't even think about that. It's kind of strange that I actually went straight to the positive. I think it kind of just says a lot about, you know, where I am in my own headspace. I'm not saying you're never going to be negative, but actually looking back, and my big awareness of this week is doing the little things well and recognizing the little things we've done.
Yeah.
Even if it's like getting up, making the bed, having breakfast, playing with our brother or sister, speaking to our parents, doing that one bit of schoolwork, catching up with Dale, being on this call. Can you see, guys, like we're constantly achieving things every day. We're constantly achieving goals, but we just don't see them as big things.
Yeah.
When we look back and think what we have achieved, you realize you can make this big list, like a list probably like 25, 30 things that you've done really well. So start looking at the little things you're doing well. So important.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. That's really cool. Now, I don't know if you're aware about this. You definitely are. I'm just saying that a lot of parents have magically transformed into teachers and head teachers. What's that? It's amazing. The way of the world. They're homeschooling, so now they're all qualified teachers, which is great. I was wondering if you could give maybe these kids that are watching this, and any kid watching this, some tips as to how they could possibly make their new teacher feel more welcome, and maybe some tips how to be, I don't know, kind and thoughtful to their mum and dad / teacher to help the process flow easier. You get that? Yeah.
I got that. Yeah. I think one thing that's really important, guys, if you're watching this, is to use empathy. And empathy is putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So if you're watching this, use your imagination, close your eyes if you need to, and just ask yourself, what are some things my parents are going through? What are some challenges that they're currently facing? How can I make their life easier? What kind of son or daughter would they love for me to be right now? And how can I help them? So actually just use your imagination and think, well, what are they going through? Which is hard, I know. It's really, really hard to think from other person's perspective. But when we do that, that's a great first step to actually helping them and helping ourselves. Because so many people are going through different challenges. And if you can just do that one piece of work, or just show up really positively and just work really hard for the 15, 20 minutes or however long you're working for, that's going to make everyone's life so much easier. So think what's going on for them. Just show up with that schoolwork with the best of your ability, with a smile on your face, giving it your all. And then also ask them, how can I help you? Or what could I do to make your life easier? Even if it's like putting one little knife in the dishwasher or washing up a pan or helping them in some way. Because there's a great thing I'd love for you to think about, which is what you put out in the world is what you get back. So if you put out stuff like being happy, smiley, positive, helping people, you're going to get that back in return. Your parents are going to even be more there for you. They're going to help you more. They're going to be, just wanting you to succeed. So if you put out great energy, you're going to get great energy back. So important to realize that.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. We've got 4 minutes left. Lily, you've been waiting so patiently, can I just say. Would you like to ask Sam a question?
Yes.
Go for it.
Hi, Lily.
Was finding out you had Crohn's disease one of those realizations that changed your whole life?
Was having Crohn's disease a realization that changed my life? Yeah. 100%, Lily. Because if I hadn't have had that Crohn's disease, or if I hadn't had that happen to me, my whole life would be different. Like, I might have gone away and actually fought in the British Army because they were in Afghanistan at the time fighting. So I might have even gone to war. Who knows what would have happened? So what I'm saying here is, although I got diagnosed with a disease, it actually was the springboard to success. Lily, it's like having a bow and arrow, and the Crohn's disease was me pulling back the bow. And as I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease, it actually shot me into new success. And I found out loads more. So whatever you're going through, whatever challenge you face, it actually propels you into new success. So it's a big challenge, Lily, but I'm really grateful to have gone through the challenge. Great question. Thank you.
That was a beautiful question, Lily. Thank you so much for that. Who remembers Jacko Van Gas, the Paralympian that we had on about 3 weeks ago? Yeah, and he was in Afghanistan, Sam, and he got hit by an RPG. So and he lost his arm, and he thought his whole life was over. He just lived the army. He just loved it so much. The travel, the friends, the action, and he thought his life was over. But guess what? He's met Prince Harry. He's travelled to the North Pole. He won the Invictus Games. He's set to go to Tokyo for the Paralympics. He's met the most beautiful soul in his life right now, his fiancée. And if it wasn't for that worst time of his life, he wouldn't be where he is right now. Imagine if he was standing slightly to the left. He wouldn't have got hit. Where would he be? He wouldn't impact so many people. He wouldn't have had, these guys wouldn't have the pleasure of his company and vice versa. So
he would still be happy, though. He would still be happy because he'd still be in the army, which is what he wanted.
That's correct, Alex. Well done. I do like that as well. That's really, really cool. And that's kind of gives us credit thinking, well, who knows? As long as we have...
Who knows? And Alex, whatever happens, we're always going to be okay. I think that's really important to realize. Even if he was in the army, he was still going to have a great life. But when losing your arm, you're still going to have a great life. You're always going to adapt. You're always correcting. Okay, so it's a great example, Alex. I love that. Well done.
Yeah, well done, mate. That's cool. Now, I need to be respectful of Sam's time. I was going to ask one last question, Sam. If your 11-year-old self saw yourself now, would he think that you are an inspirational role model?
I'd like to think so. And it's a great way to reflect on that, guys. How do you want to remember this time?
Yeah.
Do you want to remember it just in not doing anything, not taking action, not doing that schoolwork, helping out your parents? Or do you want to remember it that I actually was doing some great work with Dale? I actually learned loads about myself. So my 11-year-old self would definitely be proud of me as an inspiration. And it's a great question to ask yourself. How do you want your 29-year-old self to remember you at 11? That's what I'd for you, right? Because I'm 29, which seems it seems quite old to you guys. How would your 29-year-old self want to reflect on you at 11? That's a great question to ask.
And we're going to leave that one there for you guys. Can we just give? It's really cool that you guys are able to come on today because we can actually give Sam a wave and you can just do it. So let's wave goodbye to Sam.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Alex. I can't remember his name.
Bye.
Really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Alrighty. Okay.
Cool.
Happy days. Bro, that was sick.